Content warnings for this episode may include fantasy violence, use of guns as weaponry, gun threats, food, romance, mentions of bugs, classism and economic hardship, and environmental strife.
"27 years, 80 days, 14 hours and 52 minutes before the Chosen One dies. It is a normal, hot, working day on Kesseki." That's right, we're starting like this. The sun is winding down across a pastel sky. It is painted in rich but soft hues of pinks and oranges and blues. The dusk air is a welcome and cool reprieve from the blistering heat of the shortened but still very prominent day cycle, which drips down your body in thick, sweaty lines. A single path leads to Lodestar Steading, your home on the outskirts of Haruna Valley. It's made of dirt, unpaved, way too narrow in some places and way too broad in others, but the potholes never stay long and it's always clear of stones. The weather is so clear today that when the sun was at its zenith, someone standing in your family's raptor pen can see the gemstone waters of the Haruna itself, glimmering like a thin silver line on the northeastern horizon. Xainan, where did you come from? What do you look like? And what's on your mind right as the night cycle begins and you head towards your home?
Xainan had been in town, having caught a ride in the morning with Sorna to make trade and then maybe get a little distracted. I believe he got a little bit excitable with people talking about, "Oh, I'm the best shot. No, I'm the best shot." He is about 6 feet tall, thin, fair lavender skin, soft, sun-kissed, a little worn, but no scars, and freckles blossoming all over his face, down his cheeks, and into his struggling but present facial hair that has begun to really grow in, and he probably should have shaved it a couple of days ago. But there was a person in town who might have been looking a little bit longer than they had been 2 days ago today, where he has just a wisp of a mustache growing in, so it might stay a little longer. But it's time to go home and do the thing he was bragging about all day. Guard the flock.
That's right. You can see the farmhouse at the end of the path, a little speck on the horizon getting larger and larger. And there's, of course, also the barn with the adjoining stables and the pen, the outdoor pen attached to the stables, where it's getting so late now that you only see a couple of raptors out in the pen. You know, a few of the troublemakers trying to graze, even though they know they're supposed to go back in when it gets dark. And it's usually you who turns the raptors back in every night. And as you get closer and closer to your family's farm, you can smell dinner cooking from an open window that drifts out. Sorna is cooking dinner, and you know immediately what it is. Sesame green beans, mantis katsu curry. It's so fragrant, and it smells so juicy and delectable.
I think he crests the hill and lets out the highest pitch piercing whistle you've ever heard, letting the raptors know that they have just a few minutes before they better get back inside.
Most of the raptors immediately, their heads swivel in your direction, and then they turn and like trot back indoors into their stables. But one of them, who I think is your favorite raptor and perhaps the biggest troublemaker of the herd, kind of ignores the whistle and keeps grazing, even as you draw closer and closer.
Pebble, one day you will listen to me.
Pebble? Is that the name? Pebble? Mm-hmm. Okay, I need to make a note of that. Pebble. I love that. And what color are Pebble's feathers?
I think Pebble has these like almost dove brownish kind of feathers that have then these like shocks of like bright sapphire feathers inside of it, just kind of like right in a like beautiful pattern along the wings, and then a little bit up the breast, and maybe like down near their legs, just like big frills of them, but otherwise this like grayish kind of taupey feather.
Oh my god, I love that. Yeah, kind of grayish brown with some topaz in there. The bright, lustrous feathers. Definitely a looker, like definitely a very pretty raptor. So as you get closer to home, though your stomach, I think, is beginning to growl and you're starting to salivate a bit, just as like a biochemical reaction to your ma's delicious cooking. Do you go home first to say hello and, you know, Zhao give your parents a kind of like greeting, or do you go attend to the raptor pens?
I think he's got to go home first.
Yep.
Maybe taste, you know, just to make sure that it's good, some of the food.
Oh, of course.
And then come out and shoo Pebble and, you know, maybe close the gate over a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Sounds good. So you walk up to the porch where as is customary, the screen door is closed, but the inner door is open to kind of like vent the house when there's cooking happening. And also it was a really hot day. So any invitation of a cool breeze is much welcome. And you can see through the screen door, you can see the kitchen, and you see Sorna inside kind of manning the oven and the stovetop stations. She is, I don't think I've ever described Sorna before. So as your ma, she is a taller than you. You're 6 foot. You got your height from her. Definitely not from Ija. She's like 6 foot something. Definitely towers over you. Buff farm trucker woman. She's built like a brick shithouse. Okay, she is very muscular, even though she has an apron on currently. It's very funny to see this like massive muscular woman cooking. She's got this. I love her too. You handed me this like hot mom, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go the full hot mom route. Yeah. She has this long, thick, dark mane of hair that is usually let, you know, loose to flow down past their shoulders, but currently she's tied it up into a bun to like keep it out of her face and out of like the sweaty perspiration running down her neck as she's manning a really hot stove. And she is definitely smelling like the sesame oil. Right, and smelling like the chopped garlic and smelling like the deep fried mantis legs and flesh that she's currently manning at like a deep fry station. And you see Ija, your parent, this short, keen-eyed, androgynous, white-haired crackshot who taught you everything you knew and everything you continue to know about shooting. Their duster is currently hung up on a hook by the door, and they are counting bullets at the dining room table, which is rather unusual. This isn't something they often do. Things have been rather tight around the farmstead lately, so you just had to be very careful about every bullet they spend. So, how do you enter the space?
I think before he clocks his Ema counting bullets at the table, Xainan stops at the post at the porch, knocks his boots against the post before like quickly stepping out of them and fully in his socks on this porch, which is dusty and damp from the day, but it's normal. And especially this stretch, they sweep regularly, it's fine. And he pulls the screen open, and before he can say anything, he is turning to talk to Sorna, but then looks down at Ija. Everything all right?
Ija glances up at you, and now you can hear Sorna talking, because there was like the loud sizzling sound of frying, right? But this entire time you realize Sorna's been talking at Ija, kind of going on and on and on in the middle of speaking. It's kind of going like, you know, and then that delivery driver was such an asshole about it. You know, did he have to be such an asshole about it? He's been delivering to us for years and years and years, but he rubs it in our face sometimes. And, you know, I need help. And when he needed help with the eggs, didn't we help him with the eggs? And then you come in and address Ija, and Ija's going, yes, honey. Yes, dear. Yes, I was there. Yes, that sounds frustrating. Like the entire time as Sorna's still talking and cooking, looks up at you, and your Ema gives you a slight kind of whip smart smile. Ah, the prodigal son returns.
Hmm. And good evening to you as well.
Oh, there you are. Zai, you didn't have anything to do with some big disturbance up in the city now, did you? You know, it shut down supply transits for an hour. Yeah, delivery guy gave me a whole earful about it, how it wasn't his fault, but you know, a late delivery's a late delivery.
I think Xainan comes into the kitchen and ends up right next to Sorna by the time she's done talking. You know I wouldn't do anything like that. And it is immediately reaching for the food, but also going for a little like kiss on her cheek at the same time.
As you reach for the food, Sorna, I think, slaps your hand away, like very whip fast, right? Not before you give me up. And you give her like a nice kiss on the cheek,
and then she lets you taste. Cheek.
And then she kind of pushes. She had already set aside a small plate of like tasting, quote unquote, green beans for you. Yeah, it's for tasting, of course. You know, you try that. Tell me if there's too much oil on it or not enough chili flakes like last time. And she directs that at Ija, who just kind of mutters, well, you know me, I could always go hotter.
And Xainan just scoops up the beans and full, like, mouthful, barely chewed them, barely taste them. Could use more chili.
Okay. And she reaches for like the chili oil and continues to work her magic in the kitchen. Ija, still counting the bullets, right? It has now scooped them all up and is putting them back in the box. Glances up at you, Xainan, and says, you checked on the raptors yet?
Just Pebble left.
I see. You know, because of the delayed delivery, we haven't had the chance to sort out all the raptor feed. You think you could do a do-over, count the pellets, make sure we're all set for the next week while you're there?
Yeah. Everything all right in town?
Yeah. Everything's gonna be fine.
Is it?
And Sorna, still cooking, like add some water to the green bean mix and is like stir frying the shit out of these green beans. It's like, the beans are tossing, right, in the steam and water and garlic mixture up in the air. She says, you know, well, the magistrates and their guards up in their council up in Haruna City, they say that, you know, the economy's just tight because the economy's just tight. But you know what it is? It's those greedy geckos. That's what I call them. Greedy geckos. They just want, you know, more insects for their sticky tongues and leave not enough chow for the rest of us. That's what it is. And she brandishes the spatula like a knife. It goes back to stir frying.
Yeah, you know, when they got the money, they're gonna squeeze for what they want.
Well, that is the golden rule around Kesseki these days. If you've got the gold, you make the rules.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we will. Listen, Zai, your ma and I, we don't want you to worry about these things. Okay, so just keep doing what you gotta do. Leave the money to us. We are still the adults here, and yes, I know you're already 20, but this is still our responsibility. You're young.
Let me help.
Don't worry about it. Let your Ema and your ma take care of it.
All right, well, I'll go take care of those guys. And
don't take too long. Dinner's gonna get cold.
Oh, I will not miss it. And he, I think, plants a little kiss on Ija's head before turning back towards the door.
And you go. You step outside where it is remarkably cooler than inside where all the steam from the cooking is making it kind of hot. But what your Ema and your ma were kind of alluding to, things being tighter than usual, seeing your Ema count bullets, stuff about the delayed delivery, things as of recent years becoming more and more prominent as they go on, things seem to be getting tighter around the farm. You know, whatever's happening in the city, the water line of the Haruna dropping, you've heard the whispers, you've seen it yourself, right? The place where the water used to reach and no longer just a damp strip that gets drier and drier every season. lower and lower. I think these things are on your mind, right? Even as you hear the crickets begin their chorus in the evening, you start to see little motes of fireflies, I think, starting to speckle into existence all around the farm as you walk toward the very musty-smelling barn and raptor pen. So as you get closer, you see, at this point, all the raptors are inside except for Pebble, who's still kind of testing their luck. You see them beginning to graze by the posts of the pen as though they're trying to come closer and closer to you as you approach.
There's never going to be enough grass there for you. Come on. And Xainan, I think, like, grabs gloves that he just leaves, like, hanging on the gate right there, pulls them on, and begins to, like, shoo Pebble back towards just both hands, whistles, and just like, come on, get going.
And then Pebble kind of like pulls away and trots off back inside now that you are personally escorting them into the stable.
Like all
They're
good
a bit of a princess.
raptors. Yes.
Yeah. So you enter the stable, and again, that raptor smell hits you even harder here. It's really musty. It's not a bad smell, but it is very strong, very musky. Kind of smells like very dense and damp bedding, which is how they like it. And it also smells like raptor feed, which includes beetle flesh, kind of like protein pellets, and manure, right? Because you have to muck the stalls kind of like every day. You have a decent muck. Yeah, you enter and you see the stalls and the stables. You can hear feathers, rustling talons clicking against the soil, hay shuffling.
I think Xainan comes in and there's another raptor that like usually sits right next to the door, and he just like doesn't even look to see if she's there. He just reaches out and like pats the side of this very familiar raptor and goes in and like just either touches or pats depending on what he knows this particular raptor likes, and like a little pat on the bird
Get the
chin.
underside.
Yeah,
pat on the
little,
beak, right on the ground. Yeah.
And then makes his way over to the feed so that he can give them something to do while he mucks the place.
Sure, yeah. So the feed and the storage area is kind of in the very back of the barn of the stables, and this main thoroughfare of the stables is quite wide, and you know that your family has had more raptors in the past. Like when you were younger, every single stall in the stable was full, but now it's only about maybe like 2/3 of the way full, and it gets like slightly smaller every year. It's been like this. You've had to sell some birds to kind of make ends meet here, and trade has, what's it called? The trade proportions for how much a raptor is worth is not really starting to dwindle in your favor.
Diminishing and
here.
diminishing.
Yeah, diminishing returns. Raptor inflation, let's say. Not like that. But
if you make one mad, you'll see raptor inflation.
Yeah, they'll definitely flare. I'm sorry, C. I'm sorry for you for having to edit this. Okay. The storage areas in the back. The back of the barn, the back of the stables, you kind of have to turn a corner to get to where there's like a larger section where you put all the crates, all the old feed, all the saddles, all the tack, all of that, like cleaning supplies and whatnot. And as you're going down, walking, all the raptors chirping, you notice something unusual, which is that Natsu's stall is empty. But you do see Natsu's tail feathers poking out from around the corner. And there's kind of like almost like an eating noise.
Xainan lets out another one of those just like piercing, shrill whistles, trying to get Natsu's attention.
Yeah, totally. You see the tail feathers stiffen, and the sound of crunching and munching pauses, and then it resumes.
Hey! And Xainan comes over.
As you approach Natsu's tail feathers, right, and you turn the corner, ready to scold this raptor, you find yourself, as soon as you turn that corner, face to face with the end of a revolver. The steel barrel of it is like between your eyes. You almost kind of like, there's a moment where you almost kind of go cross-eyed from it, and it's attached to an elegant hand with this warm purple skin, which is attached to a person with that same warm purple skin, this dark purple blue hair that's currently slicked out of their face in this like very masculine kind of gelled fashion, pure black eyes with these bright golden irises that are currently flitted into these sharp, piercing slits as they look at you.
Immediately his hands go up. His hands were already out to just kind of like pat Natsu to get them to move. But I think he stopped short of reaching the raptor and his hands just go up. Howdy.
I don't want no trouble now, farm boy. Just here to wait out an unfortunate disturbance up in the city. No need to start a fight you won't win. And this person kind of flicks their gun off to the side, as if to gesture for you to move out of the way, but keeping their revolver trained on you this whole time.
And Xainan follows direction, takes a little step, but also I think his keen green eyes never leave their face. Doesn't look at the revolver, doesn't look at Natsu anymore, is fully locked on and studying their face. Mm-hmm. Every motion of their golden eyes, every shape of their hair, and is just looking, trying to place the face, trying to find the person inside of that, because he doesn't fight people with guns. This is a new thing for him. But more importantly, he just can't stop looking.
This person notices you, like, kind of, like, enraptured, kind of looking at them, just kind of taking them in. Are you scared?
I think yes. But in a way that isn't, like, quivering, shaking. Xainan has a very specific and sharp reaction when he becomes frightened, because he has faced predators that are bigger than this person and bigger than the raptors. This is just a person.
Mm-hmm.
And he can talk to people. He can't talk to monsters. He's never met a person he can't attempt to reason with.
As you kind of shuffle out of the way on the other side of Natsu's flank, this person's also close to the raptor. And it also strikes you, not just this person's very noticeable and honestly, objectively very attractive features, like this is a good-looking person. You notice that Natsu is not panicked, even though this person is wielding a gun, and you know raptors are smart enough to recognize weapons, and pointing it at you. There was a moment where Natsu kind of lifted their head and looked as this person was pointing at you, and then let out a and then went back down to this ruptured feed bag and continues eating. Like, Natsu doesn't seem scared of this person. And your raptors, say what you want about them. You know, Sorna's always talking about how they're the fastest, they're the strongest raptors in the valley, you know, to like talk them up, right? And very proud of them. But you know, above all, your raptors are intuitive. They're very smart. They get really good reads on people. And Natsu isn't flinching, isn't attacking, isn't shying away. That does mean something to you. Yeah. You step off to the side and this person says, Good, just like that. Stay right there. We wait till the trouble goes down. I'll be on my way, you be on yours.
I'll be honest, this town doesn't forget that quick.
Well, I'll be the judge of that, won't I?
You must be new in town.
And this person's eyes never flick away. They stay on you, but something does shudder in their gaze, and you get the feeling that you kind of hit it right on the money. They are new in town, but they don't reply to you.
That dust up, you ruffled some feathers, pardon my joke.
They raise an eyebrow at the bun. They're like threatening your life, and you're making like, cracking jokes. I don't know what you're talking about. Lots of disturbances happen every day.
Not like that.
Well, no matter what you're trying to speculate on, all we gotta do here is wait.
So you're gonna hold that at me and wait until the dust up calms down? Isn't your arm gonna get tired?
My arm never gets tired, farm boy.
Why don't we do this? I don't have a gun. Mine's in the house. not gonna hurt you.
You hurt me? No, darling, I don't think so. I don't think you're much of a threat at all. And I don't have to be a threat to you either if we just keep calm like this. But this, and they don't shake the gun, but they wave it, elegantly in their hand. This is just reassurance, leverage, and a contract. Long as this is in play, long as this is in the scene, we both know how this is gonna go. No need to improvise.
The thing is, if you hold me here for too long, all of them, and he points to all the raptors, are gonna start to get hungry. It's dinner time.
This person holds your gaze for maybe like 15 seconds without saying anything and then says, all right, go ahead, feed him. As you start to move, though, they continue to keep the gun on you.
And I think Xainan puts his hand down and pats Natsu, just like, get the fuck out of this feed bag.
Yeah, Natsu finally gets out of the way. Yeah.
And Xainan goes over and grabs the broken open feed bag. And normally he would take a scoop and like grab like 2 or 3 scoops and like scoop from an open container. But there's an open bag right here, and it seems like an ample opportunity to go for a little walk and test this person's resolve. So he's actually going to pick up the whole bag, and it's big, and like sling it over his shoulders so that the hole that Natsu or that this person put in the bag is pointing down, so that he's like trailing feed.
Like chicken feed almost.
Yeah, and it's gonna like chicken feed walk through the barn and kind of also case the situation and see if they're alone, see how they might have gotten in, if it was just the front door, like that kind of stuff. Just kind of take his time and mark out the place, because they're not behaving like a predator, they're behaving like prey.
Yeah, they are. So as you walk around with this person's gun, they actually come up to you as you like hoist up the feed bag and start walking, and you feel like this cold, hard barrel press into the small of your waist. Not hard, but just to let you know it's there. And they walk kind of close to you, like rather close, so close that you can almost feel their heat, and you can definitely catch a whiff of their cologne. They kind of smell like it's something like rain plus drakeberry rinds. Something sweet, not fruity, like #fruity, but a sweet masculine scent, a kind of musk.
It's a beautiful cologne you're wearing there. Bit out of place in this bird musk.
And you smell like sesame oil.
Well, if you weren't trying to hold me at gunpoint, I'd have invited you in for dinner.
Oh. How gentlemanly of you. As you walk, you notice that it doesn't seem like they came in through the front door, because the bar was kind of set when you came. And it doesn't seem like they came through the main back door either, which also feeds out into where the pens are. But you do notice one of the side windows slightly ajar, and there's like a bale of hay underneath it that looks like they crawled onto it and like came in. And that you notice they've been laying low this whole time. You're right, they're not behaving like a predator. They're waiting for that disturbance they mentioned to settle down, and you get the feeling that maybe they're being chased or followed. That's the sense you get. You notice, even though your back is turned to them, out of your peripheral vision, you catch their glance. Like their ears are pricked for any noise. Like if a raptor makes a chirping noise, if a talon scratches against stone, they notice, and they don't flinch, but they look, and they're checking the exits constantly. They're checking the exits. They're marking the windows and the doors.
Funny enough, I think as Xainan walks, he's fully intending he knows these birds, and some of them are patient, and some of them are not so. And so they're coming after like this unusual behavior, because usually the feed is in front of him. He is like throwing it for them to come and get to, but this open bag is on his back, so I feel like they're also like very close. So it's like literally these two,
Yes.
and then raptors just like flocking towards this open bag. But as they walk, I think he makes the pass all the way around all the stalls before he over his shoulder, not turning, not stopping, just says, you know, you could have hidden anywhere. Why'd you pick here?
Oh, you know, it was the scenic route on my way out of town. That and it was secluded. We were quite on the outskirts of Haruna City. Nice place to be if you don't want to be disturbed.
It is that. I'm Xainan, by the way.
There is a pregnant pause, as though this person is considering whether or not to give you their name, a real name, a moniker, an alias, and then they say, Azalis. Azalis Raid.
Pleasure to meet you, Azalis Raid. I'm Xainan Ish. And you are in the Lodestar Steading.
Question to you, Xainan. Is there a sign or anything on the farm that says
I'm
Lodestar
sure.
Setting?
Yeah, there's no way there's not.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. I think Sorna very proudly refurbished the family sign at some point, and it's like
I'm
nice
sure.
and gilded. Yeah. This Azalis person says, I did notice the sign out front. It's a very pretty sign. Well-made oak.
My mom made it.
Your mom.
Mm-hmm.
She the one cooking with sesame oil?
She is. And, I should warn you, I'm not the hunter of this house.
Another pregnant pause, and you can basically hear this person running the calculations through their head of, you've been out for a while now, feeding the raptors, right? There are at least like one or two other people on this property who know that you're here and would make sure that you're accounted for. Well, I assume it's part of your nightly routine to take care of the raptors. They won't miss you. And that is a statement, but it is a question framed as a statement. Like, how long? How long do I have before they come knocking?
For a little while, but dinner's about to be ready.
So you've mentioned. So you've invited me. Tell me, is it usually standard practice for you to invite gun-toting fugitives into your home for dinner? Even in jest?
One of those two. Normal. The fugitive part is new, but you wouldn't be the first one I've met.
What did you think of the others you've seen?
Well, they were cocksure and foolish in town, but you are at least clever enough to break into my barn and not get attacked by all of my raptors. So I will say you are good company to have.
I have a gun to your back, and you're saying I'm good company to have.
You don't have teeth the size of my arm.
Are you saying you're not scared of me?
That would be a lie.
I can tell. You're nervous. Even now you don't know whether or not I'll squeeze the trigger just because I get spooked. But I assure you, I'm not in the business of killing innocents.
I didn't say I was innocent.
You can basically hear them smile from behind you. Oh, don't tell me you're just as bad in the blood as me.
No. But, you know, someone with skills such as ours. And he kind of like actually pushes against the gun a little. We have certain reputations.
Skills such as ours. And what skills might we have in common, Xainan Ash? Why don't you illuminate me?
Have you ever been out at night here in Haruna?
Now and then.
Have you seen what makes flocks go missing?
I've heard the stories.
I grew up staring into the dark.
You're a protector. A hunter. You mentioned you have your piece back at your house. Lots of young guns talk big game about how good their shot is, how quick their finger is. How do I know you're half as good as you claim you are?
You see all these raptors?
Hard to miss them.
Exactly. Big predators. I bring them home every night.
Do you now? Well, there's a difference between a domesticated raptor and rumors of those monsters lurking in the dark. Though these birds do seem to respect you. I will give you that. Sign of a good soul.
Maybe a lucky one.
I think at this point you've made a full rotation
Yeah.
of the barn, and you're starting to run out of feed. It's like the last few pellets are starting to sprinkle onto the ground.
If you don't mind, I'm a little warm. I'm gonna take this off now.
Okay, stop being gay, Connie. Fine, but turn around. Hands where I can see him.
And Xainan drops the feed bag that has 5 pellets left in the bottom and turns to face Azalis. And with both hands out, reaches into his outer kimono, which is a heavier, more made to weather any rain or heavy wind that might come through. But because it's been so hot today, underneath he's just wearing a sleeveless wrap shirt.
Yes. Okay, Xainan.
And he pulls off his gloves because he's, done working really hard and he's not going to get bit by a raptor while being held at gunpoint, hopefully. And he just puts his hands up. And he drops all of it just to the floor. It already has hay and a bunch of other crap stuck on it, so it's not super strange. And he looks them over again, right into those gold eyes, down their neck, little lingering, as he just slowly walks his eyes down their body, not looking at the gun at all. And then just straightens up. So what are we gonna do to pass the time? I made Connie too gay.
I'm so gay. I'm too gay for this. Your eyes wander. So do theirs. For the first time since this person has basically held you hostage, their eyes leave your eyes and they travel to your shoulders as you kind of disrobe. They travel to the curve of your muscles along your arms. They travel to that thin, I think, valley of sweat cutting its way down your collarbones and then underneath your wrapped shirt, travels to, I think, the curve of your hip, all the way down to the muscles of your thigh, to your boots, and then they flick slowly, taking it in, not caring to hide it either, all the way back up to your face. Whatever will we do to pass the time? And I think there's almost that question, it comes up, it is tense, there's friction between the two of you, there's almost a sense of electricity, a spark, and then both of you at the same time hear footsteps and voices approaching the barn. And quick as a whip, quick as a striking pit viper, this person presses their gun against your stomach, but then they use their hand to kind of turn you around, and you feel their fingers going down your body, getting down to your hips, and then turning you. Do you let them?
He definitely lets them. And his hands fall when he turns around too. I think he doesn't cross his arms. He doesn't want to seem suspicious, but he puts one hand so that his elbow is out, covering the arm that would be holding the gun towards his back. And actually kind of protecting whichever of his parents or both of his parents from seeing that he's in danger.
Yeah, so as both of you turn, like very quickly acting on instinct, you hear and sense Azalis crouch down, kind of underneath like a stall, so they wouldn't be visible to whoever's walking in, unless they like got behind you to see them still pointing the gun at your back, and you feel the hard barrel of it retreat, but they're definitely still within like fatal gunshot range.
Absolutely.
Crouching under a stall. Yes, of course.
He just kind of like leans over before the door can open, because he knows how long it takes to like pull the door open, to like grab his robe and his gloves that he's just dropped on the ground.
Okay, yeah. Both your robe and the gloves are back in your arms, back in your grasp, as the barn doors open, and in come 4 people. 2 of them you recognize. Yep. 2 of them you recognize. They are your ma and your ima, Sorna and Ija. And Sorna is the one who opened the barn door. You could recognize her heavy footsteps and the way she like works the, she works the knobs and whatnot. And Ija is quiet. One arm kind of at their hip, the other one loosely by their side. And you notice that the one at their hip, their hand is resting on the hilt of their gun, one of their own revolvers. Not like threateningly, but just there, ready in case. And Sorna is in the middle of talking to the other 2 people who you don't recognize at all, but you do recognize their outfits. Anyone would recognize their outfits. One of them is a magistrate from the city. It's like a fairly high-ranking government official. And the other is her personal guard. So the magistrate is a woman with light pink skin, freckles, and dark red hair pulled into a low ponytail. And she wears the really nice threads and the glowing paints of course, a magistrate. And most tellingly for her rank, you see an ivory shaku tucked into the belt of her trousers, which is the unmistakable flat symbolic baton of like a lawmaker or a magistrate in the city. And you see the characters for Haruna City etched into the ivory of the shaku dangling against her hip. And she's got these like sharp white eyes that are taking in the scene as she steps into the barn. Her guard is a man, a broad, muscular man in a sleeveless tunic and these workers' pants tucked into hard, thick leather boots. And his hand, just like Ija's, rests on the hilt of a polished saber that on the scabbard has Haruna City's sigil carved against it, like a magistrate's personal guard's special sword. And he wears a pair of glasses, which is rather unlike a guard, I think, and a very well-trimmed beard and kind of glossy black hair. He looks a bit more well-bred than a guard necessarily might be. Like he almost is of like noble or financial birth. And your ma is in the middle of saying, Xainan, Xainan's a young gun, but he wouldn't cause any huge ruckus up in Haruna City. And there he is, just like I said he'd be, out here feeding the raptors, as all 4 of you come in.
And Xainan kind of like slaps his gloves off to kind of even extra sell that he's just been like in here working. Oh no, I got something on my gloves. I've just taken a moment. It is... Actually, he's not a great liar, but he puts his whole heart into it in a way where he hopes that he will fool even his parents. It's probably not the best performance you've ever seen of I've been working so hard. But he starts to walk over with his like robe draped over his arm. Howdy, how can I help you all?
Sorna looks relieved upon seeing you. Like, you see some tension, like, leave her body as you say that. Good to see you, son. Now listen, our Xainan is not a fugitive. He's a hard-working farm boy. These 2, the magistrate and this guard, they say they're looking for a fugitive, some sort of thief. And the magistrate kind of cuts in, like, raises a hand, and, like, has, like, an inscrutable expression on her face, almost like she's, like, above the situation. Please. Right? Kind of looks like she's like looking down on everyone almost, and she kind of picks her way across the barn like she doesn't want to step on like this grossy, yucky, manure-filled barn, right? Yes, that's quite enough. The city. We'll take it from here. The two of you can wait outside as I interrogate this Xainan. And Ija, this entire time, their eyes have been on the feed, on the ground, which is not how you like. They're picking up on the clues here that something is a bit amiss. And Ija says, quiet, but their grip tightening around the gun at their holster. I hope you don't mind if Xainan's ma and Ima stay around to witness this interrogation. You know, we have a vested interest in the well-being of our child. Oh, I see. I haven't made my rank or the stakes of the situation clear yet, now have I? And this magistrate turns with like all the confidence of a lawmaker in the city, and they take out the shaku. Not like to attack or anything like that, but just to like, it's like a badge of authority, basically.
Yeah,
they just hold it out.
You know who I am?
Yeah, it's you know who I am, right. She holds it out and she says, and I'm sure this Lodestar Steading wouldn't appreciate a sudden and very expensive audit. But of course, stay and watch, and I'll make sure that our tax collectors have Lodestar Steading high up on their priority list come next season.
You'll have to pardon my Ima. They get a bit protective. I'm all right. I'll be all right.
And you see, Ija hasn't drawn the gun, but is looking at you, looks at Sorna, who this entire time has been perfectly cheerful, but you recognize the look on Sorna's face. It's almost like curiosity. She's not intimidated by this magistrate or even the guard. She's bigger than the guard. She's almost looking at them like, could I knock them both out with a single sucker punch to like protect Xainan? Like, I bet I could, right?
Yeah.
But then you say that. Ija looks at you, looks back at the magistrate and the guard, looks at Sorna, and then nods. All right. But we'll be right outside.
I know you will.
Ija gives you a nod. Your Ima looks up at your ma, who... Well, I love to be hospitable. I do. That's how my ma taught me to be here on the Steading. That is how her ma taught her to be here on the Steading. But I assure you, audit or not, if either of you lay a single finger on my son. And there's something that comes across Sorna's very friendly face that darkens it. And you see the magistrate this whole time has not been bothered at all. She shrinks a little and she swallows kind of hard. And even the guard next to her kind of shrinks, like he doesn't like necessarily step forward. He just is looking at this massive woman.
Yes,
and then Sorna smiles. Sorna smiles and says, but I'm sure it won't come to that. Come on, Ija. And your parents step outside. The doors close.
Xainan tries to step closer to the magistrate and the guard to kind of pull their attention away from the stall that Azalis tucked himself into.
Yes, like trying to look as non-threatening, right?
Yeah.
As possible, yep. You step forward, you present yourself, and then perhaps, to a little bit of your horror, Azalis stands up, gun no longer pointed at you, but at the magistrate and the guard. They stand up and they stand next to you with a gun pointed. And the magistrate, her eyes widen and she quickly like raises her hands and drops the shaku. And the guard kind of blanches a little and his hand goes to the hilt of his saber. And there's like a tense, silent moment here. Do you say anything to break the tension?
Xainan's like, whoa, we don't have to do anything we're going to regret here.
And then the magistrate starts laughing. And then Azalis also starts laughing and starts to lower the gun. And the guard lets out an exasperated sigh, kind of adjusts his glasses and says, do you guys have to do that every time? And then the magistrate steps forward and puts like a big arm around Azalis's shoulders and pats them and says, oh, the look on his face. He is a cutie. Do we have to kill this one? And the guard says, no innocence. Piera.
Hello, what is happening?
This this Piera person and Azalis are both kind of laughing their ass off, while this man, this guard looks rather like fed up with these two people. Like his hands are on his hips, and he really doesn't wear the saber very well. And you're getting the feeling that they're not who they say they are. And Azalis and Piera stop laughing. Azalis kind of straightens, looks at you. They're tucking their revolver away. And even though they're looking at you, they're not talking at you. They're talking to Piera. He's a good man, as far as I can tell. Smooth talker too, silver tongue. I didn't even ask them to step in front of me when the two of you came knocking. He just did, even though I had a gun to his back this whole time. Well, is that so? Does that make him a good man or a foolish one? I don't suffer any fools in my gang. A good man, Piera. A good man. Well, you've got Azalis Raid's endorsement, which is a very rare thing to have. Xainan Ash. That's what it was, right? I caught the last name, back when I was talking to your parents, presumably.
That would be me. And
well,
you are?
I am Piera. This is Dom, our accountant / financier. Well, not financier. Dom doesn't provide the money. Let's be real. And also, Lisa and Piera both laugh, and Dom again looks kind of rankled, but taking it in good humor. But he manages the money. Helps us put our plans together. This is Azalis, the face of our trio. Pretty obviously so, I would say. Though, I think I could give Piera a run for their money, and Dom on a good day. We caught him on kind of a bad day. And what we do is, we take care of our own. We do what needs to be done. Some people call us vagabonds. I call us people who know that the law only applies to those people who know how to get around it.
Ain't that true?
I think we could use someone like you. We've been looking for another addition to our crew, perhaps, but how are you with a gun?
Xainan walks up to Azalis. The same demeanor that he's had this whole time, basically. And holds his hand out.
There's a pause, and then Azalis hands you their revolver.
Mm-hmm. As the weight is transferred into Xainan's hand, he, in a microsecond, feels to make sure that it's loaded, that it feels right, that it's...
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah. And in one fluid motion, turns and points points Azalis's gun down past Piera, past Dom, to the end of the barn, and I think shoots a gate rope that drops one of the stall doors.
Ooh, I love that. I think so your parents don't rush in at the sound of a gun going off.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this one, there's a silencer on it. There's some sort of dampening effect on it, so it's kind of a muffled... as the bullet comes out, hits the rope perfectly, right? And like the barn door with a kind of muffled thud. And you see Piera's eyebrows like raise. She kind of like looks at you, looking rather impressed. Even Azalis kind of like looks at you again and says, "So you weren't just talking."
Would never. And he turns around and hands the gun back to them with the muzzle pointed at him again.
They take it and they tuck it away. Considering you, they let the moment of transfer linger as their fingers brush over yours, as you hand this killing weapon between the two of you.
And his fingers definitely lightly push back.
And Piera lets out a grin. She notices that, glances between you, glances between Azalis, and says, "So, Xainan, how would you feel about earning enough to keep your homestead from sinking?"
Happily. Azalis, you'd ever met my parents. Do you still want that dinner?
Xainan has so much game! I am rather hungry. And Dom says, I thought we were getting ramen together. You know, Dom, I think I'm in the mood for sesame oil green beans.
Spicy.
Great. I'll catch up with the two of you later, maybe tomorrow morning. Piero says, okay, do what you want to do. Come on, Dom. Dom goes, wait, what do you mean by tomorrow? Right, got that. Piero, do I have to keep wearing this stupid thing? It's digging into my hip. And he's kind of adjusting the saber holster as the two of them start to make their way toward, the front barn doors. And Piero says, yes, but before we leave and before the two of you go off and have your, whatever it is that the two of you decide that you want to have, Azalis? And Piero holds out a hand. The beetle? And Azalis reaches into one of the pockets of their robes, their clothes, and they pull out a small glass jar, more of a vial than anything. And inside, Xainan Esh, you see, I shit you not, a phoenix beetle. You've heard of these creatures before. You've never actually laid your eyes on one of them because they are so rare. It is a rather inconspicuous looking beetle, but it kind of flutters its wings, and as the wing shell comes up and the actual wings come out, you see that they're made of pure flame. And as the fire flicks out, you see little embers come out and speckle onto the ground, and then they crisp up and turn into smoke and evaporate. And you know that phoenix beetles are not just rare because they're just a cool rare bug. You know that their wing dust, those ember pellets, supposedly have extremely lucrative medicinal uses. Some people say that they can make you immortal. Basically, that's why they're called phoenix beetles.
Where did you get that from town?
Azalis just gives you a wolfish smile and hands it over to Piero, who palms this precious beetle with no ceremony whatsoever and kind of stuffs it into a satchel. And Dom says, sounding rather proud, there is a very well-to-do bidder off-world who's willing to pay some pretty coin to get her hands on one of those specimens. I arranged the drop-off myself.
I didn't even know that there were any nearby. You weren't joking about the money.
No, we were not. This sort of work, if you've got a stomach for it, it pays really well. And in these times, these lean, hard, hungry times, lawfulness is a luxury many of us can't afford.
You know where to find me. And Xainan looks next to him at Azalis. Just smiles.
And Piera, clocking the look between you and Azalis once more, gives a knowing smirk, pats the satchel with the priceless beetle in it, and says, all right, so Dom and I are going to have to go outside, and we're going to have to figure out some sort of convincing story for why Azalis is here, so here's the plan. And we're going to end the backstory session there.